23.
Yes.
There's actually it's a very busy week.
It has been.
And we're not done yet because as this goes out tomorrow, we'll have the boys' Herogasm episode coming out.
Oh yeah.
Which I legitimately think with the amount, obviously I know that everyone's Twitter is more tailor made towards theirs. I genuinely think this has a chance to break the internet.
It probably will show up across most of the internet.
Yeah, because it is that outrageous. Even some of the actors who were famous before this and are working on it, I've never seen something as outrageous done on a film set before or a TV show set.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me wonder if the wrong part of the world is going to get hold of this, i.e., super conservative parts of the world, and just lose their fucking mind.
I hope they do.
Which is what they want. They 100% want that. So I'll get into it more in a minute, but the boys' Twitter has been trying to bait people into watching it in public places and with their family and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll go well.
And I'm sure someone will accidentally do that, and I cannot wait for it because that story will make headlines.
Oh yeah, someone's gonna watch it with their parents and regret it.
Of course, someone always does. Anyway, how's your week been, Hori?
All right. Slightly less stressful than last week. I would have said a bit more chilled. Kind of got that even though I'm away on holiday for the weekend, but then next week it's technically work. It still feels like I'm on about to go on a week holiday.
Nice.
So it's like that feeling when you're at work and it's the last few days and you just can't be bothered doing anything.
Because your entire week has been 4:30 on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, sort of.
You're
vibes.
just yeah, almost there. Nothing to do.
But I still haven't packed, and I go tomorrow.
You
which
still
is
haven't packed.
No, I'll pack tonight or in the morning. It's fine.
Brilliant.
I always do it last minute. I'm terrible at pre-packing. I just can't do it. But yeah, other than that, just look forward to grinding content to try and prep for being away for a week.
You have. We've had a lot of video games this week. It's been great. I've very much enjoyed it.
But yeah, other than that, pretty chill. Just looking forward to Rocket League in London. That's gonna be good fun. How's your week been?
It's been good. Kind of a weird pacing of a week, work-wise for me. Just yesterday blew by in a minute, and today seemed to take forever. But happens sometimes.
Because you wanted to be back for Valorant.
Yeah, enjoyed playing a lot of video games this week. Lots going on. I've also just, while it's in the back of my brain, my brain's fully reminded me again that on Saturday I've got my next tattoo consultation, which is exciting. Because I've not had a tattoo since the start of the pandemic, just before the start of the pandemic. So it'll be nice to finally feel that sweet, sweet pain again. But yeah, no, it's been a pretty chill week. Lots of shows going on, which has kept me pretty busy. And that means I get to talk about it with all you lovely people, so it's great.
Yeah.
But before we can get into the goodness that was the variety of TV shows we've had in the last week, we have to do our character profile. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with myself for not thinking of this sooner, especially bearing in mind how much I've struggled for character profiles the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's Pride Month.
Correct.
And I had no idea what people do. I should have been shining a light on some of the brilliant LGBT
characters that Marvel and that have.
Yeah, characters. So I went for the one that springs to mind first for me. Mr. Iceman, Robert Bobby Drake of the X-Men.
Oh, okay.
So I think a lot of people don't realize he's gay for two reasons. The early 2000s X-Men films obviously had him dating Rogue for all the films.
Oh, yeah.
And to be fair, he has dated women in the comics, but he defines himself as gay now. So, but also, if I'm correct, his character was made canonically gay quite a long time ago. So it's just kind of not something that's discussed anymore.
I get you.
Whereas, like, Superman's son John recently in his comics came out as bisexual. So, because that was quite recent, it got a bit of news. No one's going back through old back catalogues to find people who came out as gay 20 years ago to moan about them. Yeah. So, Iceman's very interesting. He is also an Omega level mutant.
Okay.
So, the top level. I did not realize how in depth his powers are, but at the same time, a lot of them seem very similar.
Right.
And just like, almost like he has two versions of each power, one version for inside his body and one version for outside his body.
Okay, I get you.
So I'll give the names and then I'll give description. So we've got thermokinesis, thermal vision, cryokinesis, organic ice form, hydrokinesis, ice clone generation, cryokinetic perception, cellular replacement.
I understood like 2 of those.
As with everything when it comes to the X-Men, it gets confusing as fuck for no reason. So basically, the thermokinesis, as far as I can understand, allows him to, what's the word I'm looking for? Purposefully control his temperature of his body.
Okay.
So that allows him to drop it down to absolute zero in, like, I think I read it was like 2/5 of a second or something. So like rapid. When his body does get that low is when his thermal vision comes into play. So when his body temperature is lowered enough, he basically can see people via their heat signature.
Right. Okay.
Which is kind of interesting that ability is kind of reliant on something else being active. The cryokinesis is the one that most people will be familiar with. That's what allows him to create his kind of weapons, and like when he's in his ice form, he's kind of got that ice armor around him. That's part of that, along with the organic ice form. So, like I said, a lot of his powers work hand in hand with each other.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what allows him to create like his little darts that he fires at people and stuff like that.
Okay. That's cool.
Then you've got his organic ice form, which is essentially where he can replace his living tissue with ice that does the same thing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but apparently, so this is really interesting. Omega level mutants are, this has always been my understanding, but I've got a feeling they've retconned it and changed it slightly recently. But until someone in the comics shouts at me for saying it's been changed, I'm going to assume that I'm still right with this. Omega level mutants, there's only one of each kind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So with ice-based powers, there's only one Omega level mutant. With heat-based powers, with telepathy, all that. That was the way it always used to be. I do think it might have changed, but we're going to stick with that. But apparently, a big reason that holds him back so he doesn't seem like he's Omega level to a lot of people is his kind of anxiety around his powers stops him like activating his final form, if that makes sense.
Right.
So a lot of very intelligent people in the Marvel universe seem to think that his organic ice form he could actually use on other people as well.
Oh, interesting.
And because of his organic ice form, he might, while in that form, be immortal.
Okay.
Because he can't really take damage. But that, again, that's because of the other powers on top of it.
Yeah.
So this comes down to like the hydrokinesis being like any water he can interact with. And using the hydrokinesis and the cellular replacement, he can turn the water into the ice. And then when he then goes out of his ice form, that ice will turn back into his normal body.
Yeah. So as long as he's got water.
But here's the thing. It's even stated the moisture in the air in the desert is enough to sustain him.
Okay.
It just takes a lot of mental fortitude for him to be able to do that.
Yeah, probably a lot longer.
Yeah, so his biggest issue is it's mentally taxing for him to do this stuff. So in areas where the air moisture and stuff like that isn't as plentiful, it's more mentally demanding of him.
Yeah, I get that.
He also can create ice clones. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
Out of ice, he can create like body doubles that he can use. Cryokinetic perception is really interesting to me, and I'm not even sure I fully understand it. Based on what I can understand, it seems like when he's in an ice form, he can use any kind of water or ice or anything that he has control over in the area as another set of eyes.
Well, if it's kinetic perception, it'll be he can feel like tremors or movement.
Yeah. So I think one of the examples given was at one point New York City was like in the middle of a blizzard.
Okay.
And by standing in the middle of New York City, he could feel and know where everyone in the city was. Because the ice was everywhere.
Yeah,
he could use that to work out where everyone was. Which is, I mean, kind of OP if like...
yeah, in the right climates.
Yeah.
Basically, could jump in the ocean and just feel everything.
But you've also got to remember, because he can team up with Storm, he can use her to get it to rain all over an area and kind of use them in tandem, which is interesting. Combo. As I said before, although he has had a fair few female love interests, at one point, Jean Grey, Phoenix.
Yeah.
So this is where X-Men lore always gets difficult. So him and Jean Grey dated.
Right.
She then died.
Okay.
A then version of her from the past time traveled to the future for something else, not for this purpose. This just happened while she was time traveling, and she questioned him about his sexuality, to which he confessed being gay.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's one way to do it.
I think I've got that right. So that's how he came out. So yes, although he has been with women, he considers himself gay. More power to him.
Yep.
So, as I was also saying before, the biggest roadblock for his powers is sometimes he suffers from mental blocks.
Right.
Which limit him, don't allow him to truly meet his own mega mutant level. So, although he is crazy powerful and can roll with the absolute top dogs, his kind of internal anxieties and worries about losing control of his powers and the damage it could do sometimes make him less effective.
Okay.
And what I did not know is how old a character he is.
Oh, has he got like anti-aging because of his...
No. I mean, like real world old. He first appeared in X-Men #1 back in July 1963.
An OG.
He was the second member of the X-Men behind Scott Summers.
Oh, he's an OG.
Yes. Proper OG.
Man's rolling from the deep.
As in, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee themselves came up with him.
Yeah, like in the first draft of X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. Proper OG, which I didn't know. I knew he was an old character. I didn't realise he was like day one old.
Probably explains, in a way, why he has some very creative powers. Because, like, they have nothing else where they have to be worried about if they're copying anything. It's just like, oh, let's do something completely, like, ice-themed, and they have a load of fun with it, and there's no worry of crossover.
Exactly, and his appearance has changed kind of over the years as he's got more control over his powers. Originally, he kind of used to look like a bit like a snowman, so kind of like a white covering over his body. But as
like
he got more control over his power, he was able to turn that into like the bluish kind of rock hard ice that you would think of when you see him.
Yeah,
which is obviously a lot more durable and a lot more powerful
and cooler looking.
And yeah, obviously a fuck ton cooler looking. But yeah, so there we go.
That's cool.
That is character profile on Iceman. I will say I was a little bit sad. I knew I wanted to do him, so I went to type in Iceman. And to be fair, it's probably just because Top Gun Maverick's like
just been
top of all the cinemas right now. But it was instantly trying to point me towards Val Kilmer's character in Top Gun. I'm like, no, I want the Marvel one.
I'm the nerd looking for Iceman.
Yeah, literally
not the
like. Yeah, like literally even 2 months ago trying to search this and it wouldn't have sent me there. But anyways, on to our 12 million shows this week.
Yeah, what a week.
Are we starting with the thick boy that is Kenobi episode 6?
Sure.
Okay, let me readjust.
I was not ready for the emotional roller coaster that was this finale.
Emotional damage.
Literally emotional damage.
What
an episode!
It was so good.
Now, I did see the odd thing on like some people didn't seem that pleased with the finale. I don't know why.
I do have a couple of mild complaints.
But I think those people may like my thought
They're
process.
them Star Wars fans.
Well, they're either those sort of Star Wars fans that complain about everything, or I do wonder if, like, I really loved the finale because I felt like there was a lot of the kind of they pulled things from Clone Wars, and like it kind of felt like some of the animated stuff was finally getting like more of the like live action light, which is what us Star Wars fans that have watched Clone Wars have always wanted. And I wonder if some of the people that weren't like that amazed by it or kind of wanted something different was because they haven't seen that side of the story or something. But overall, I loved it. I genuinely think the scene between Anakin / Vader, because he was in like this weird mixed point, which we saw in Clone Wars. But like that and him with Kenobi and their fight scene and the like that scene where they finally kind of talk it out a bit, like got to be my new favorite scene in Star Wars. Just that moment between them where he's like, "You didn't kill Anakin, I did," and then the cinematography of like going from the blue lightsaber to the red, just to really sell that he'd turned, and Anakin was gone. Oh, so well done. So well done.
So I'm gonna start with my little things I could have done without or would have done slightly different first, because I'd rather get the negatives out of the way and then bask in the glory that was basically the rest of it. I felt like while the fight between Kenobi and Vader was very entertaining, the cutting between that and what was happening with Reva and jumping backwards and forwards really pulled me out of it a little bit. I get why they did it, because otherwise it would have felt very much this end, and I get that, but I would have preferred it to see kind of everything up until Luke hitting his head. Then we get the Kenobi and Vader. Then we get Kenobi rushing back and Reva kind of sorting herself out. But I also said I could have done without Reva being redeemed.
Yeah.
I'm okay with her deciding not to kill Luke. I'm okay for that decision, but I would have liked her to kind of put Luke down because she decided killing a child isn't the way to do it, and then she like goes for Kenobi. Let Kenobi run a bit of a gauntlet in the episode.
So, on the first point of going back and forth, I'm like, yeah, I also kind of wish they didn't cut between the two, but unfortunately, like, I also get that unfortunately they kind of put themselves in that position where they had to, because they had to sell that both of these things were going on at the same time to give that urgency of Kenobi had to get back, and try and sell that like it's similar time thing, and it was like.
But to be fair, I think they could have still done it even a bit better with the cutting back and forth. Like there was a cut in the middle of the first stage of the fight, and then a cut in the second stage of the fight. Why not just put the cut when we think Obi-Wan's been crushed by the rocks, even though obviously we knew he was going to be fine. When he's under the rocks, cut and give us the bit on Reva, then come back, then go back. It felt like the cuts were just misplaced a little bit.
Yeah, I get that.
Don't get me wrong, it's not enough for me to go, oh, this show stinks.
And the fight sequence still was amazing to watch.
Yes, and it was beautiful.
And
the mixing of Hayden's voice and James Earl Jones's voice when the mask was broke. I was watching it on my lunch break at work, and I was literally going, this is fucking kind of looking around as I'm sitting there over my lunch going, can anyone else see this?
So on your second point though about Reva, I'm not fussed about her being like a bit of a redemption thing of like she's realized she wasn't doing the right, like she came to kind of her senses of like what am I doing with myself. I sat there watching it and it was like cool, she put Luke down, she hadn't killed Luke. I think that was obviously one had to happen, and two made sense that she would see herself as the youngling and all that. But I actually thought when she pulled her lightsaber out, and maybe this is because it's Disney and it's not sort of thing that Star Wars would do, but I fully just saw her like seppukuing herself. What's the word? The Japanese thing where they just.
Yeah.
I thought she was just gonna like, with the regret of what she attempted to do, and like this whole redemption thing, she'd just take herself.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she's just gonna end herself because Kenobi won't do it. And then no, it's just she kind of. It kind of feels a bit weird though. I think my issue with it is it leaves her story in a kind of weird open point because we don't know what goes on with her.
Yeah, and like obviously, she has to not do anything particularly important for a long time.
Yeah, or she shows up in Kenobi season 2 and like she gets ended, like her story ends in that or something. But yeah,
we can have a little bit more of her for the next couple of years in the timeline. Then she needs to like disappear for like 10 years, and then maybe she can come back and have a bit more of a story.
Yeah,
be kind of like part of when Luke's rebuilding the Jedi Order for a little while there, in between the end of 6 and beginning of 7. Maybe she can be involved a little bit there. I don't know.
Do you know what could have been a cool, like in a way, a bit of a cooler ending? Is the whole white lightsabers is from putting light back into a blade. If she'd at the end put all her
that process,
all her like rage and emotion, and
just see the red like get a little bit paler.
Yeah, just start to go paler, and it was like her realizing, oh, I've gone on like the wrong path, like
yeah.
So
that could have been a really interesting story for her own show,
yeah,
or
like,
a side plot in Kenobi season 2 or whatever.
Because it could have easily led into like Ahsoka or anything, but yeah. That was probably the one thing in the finale that kind of felt a little bit out of place. The rest of it I loved. So going now back to the thing where you said about where they mixed the voices, I loved how they did that. That was perfect.
So good. It was so good.
This is the funny thing, like when that happened and he sliced across Vader's head, instantly I was like, because back when the season started, kind of in my head and stuff, I was thinking like, I wonder what sort of things we might see from Clone Wars. And there's a bit in Clone Wars when Ahsoka and Anakin finally meet for the first time when he's Darth Vader, and similar situation, he has half a mask and he's still like, his eyes going yellow, but like they have that similar interaction of she's sort of talking to Anakin, but she's not. And it was like, as soon as he sliced across and there was like half his face was open, I was like, oh, we're going to get this is going to be the moment where we get like a blend and finally that kind of Anakin's over, Darth Vader's here now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that they blended the voices was done perfectly. And with like the set lines that they chose to do it with and stuff. And just the way that it was filmed with the lighting, which Star Wars is always great for.
What's really interesting to me is kind of the discussion online around the entire series is, I feel like every week some weirdo's complaining about, oh, they've broken canon again. Star Wars has broken canon since literally the day it was started. Like, get over it. But in my opinion, they've also fixed a lot of things that don't make sense.
Yeah, they've filled a lot of gaps.
Kenobi always in the original trilogy kind of acting like Vader and Anakin were two different people, which was obviously at the time to throw us off the scent, but they have to explain it now. We can now be explained by after that, Obi-Wan genuinely thinks of them as two different people.
Yeah.
And him saying to Leia, they can't ever know we know each other, otherwise it will put us in danger, kind of explains why when she sent that message, maybe she wouldn't have gone, hi, it's me, I need your help.
Yeah, it's why...
Because Leia's a very switched-on girl.
Yeah, I liked that little, like, interaction that he had with her where he was like, if you do ever need my help, and like, it's like, he's like, we need to keep our distance to keep each other safe. Being like, look, we're probably not going to see each other again, but if there is a situation where, like, you seriously need my help, like, yeah. And then obviously that obviously comes to light in the films, and we see that when she's like desperate and she needs Obi-Wan to come back. But I really did like how they put it kind of, because we've seen Ahsoka and Anakin in the animated series, and we got that tied up, that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we've now finally seen Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship tied up and like come to an end. So now it's just Darth Vader, and like they've had their moments, each of them, because they're pretty significant story points in Star Wars' like story arc. So like to finally have both of those, I think it's really nice.
What's quite interesting to me is obviously watching just the films for most of my life as I have. I always just kind of with Force Ghosts. I was always kind of just the opinion, oh, clearly only super powerful Jedi who are relevant to the plot get them. Cool, whatever. But then I'm finally getting to nip towards the end of Clone Wars. And I've just gone past the story arc where Yoda learns about Force Ghosts.
Yep.
And he obviously gets spoken to by Qui-Gon, who's like, I couldn't finish my training, therefore you can't see me, which is why people on the internet are moaning this week. But we'll get into that in a minute. So that was actually quite nice for me watching Clone Wars and getting past that story before this week's episode. Because now I kind of have a bit of understanding about what season 2 is going to be about, if they do decide to do a season 2.
Yeah.
But so that's really cool. But what I'm curious about is obviously people on the internet are moaning, saying, "Oh, well, Qui-Gon said he couldn't finish his training, so he couldn't be a Force Ghost. But how's he a Force Ghost now? Blah 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 blah." And I have one comment, and don't get me wrong, I've never claimed to be the smartest Star Wars person in the world here. This is pure just logic to me. We know Qui-Gon trained Yoda so that Yoda could be a Force Ghost. If Qui-Gon never completed the training to be able to be a Force Ghost, how would he have been able to teach Yoda how to be a Force Ghost?
This is true. So,
you claiming that the Clone Wars canon's been broken, you could say Clone Wars was wrong originally.
Yeah.
And Qui-Gon said he never finished his training, doesn't mean that he couldn't still continue to learn, because his consciousness was clearly there.
Yeah. And
maybe
I don't know if have you seen Rebels?
That was his last little bit.
Have you seen Rebels?
I haven't started Rebels yet.
Okay.
If you need to talk about a little bit of it, go for it. It's not a problem. I'm still going to watch it.
I won't, because I don't want to, because it's kind of a cool thing and I don't want to spoil it. So it's like, there's a thing in Rebels that we learn, and it's like, it completely changes your perception of kind of the Force and how things work. And it's like, if someone has watched that, like, it doesn't, like, there's no reason why, like, we don't actually really understand the Force and how it can work. And sure, one thing can be said in a film one time, but it doesn't mean that, like, they can just go, like, it could be different. Like, things can be changed.
At the end of the day, only one person actually know how the Force works, and that is George Lucas.
Yeah, so
unless George Lucas comes out next week and goes, Qui-Gon should not have been a ghost, that was a fuck up.
Which is not going to happen.
Which is not going to happen. Whether he thinks it or not, he's not going to come out and do
Especially
that.
Because
unless he does come out and do that, I'm not accepting it.
Dave Filoni is like...
Yeah.
that with George Lucas and knows pretty much everything that he needs to know about Star Wars and how to continue it. So,
if anything, although we say George Lucas is the only one who truly knows how the Force works, Dave Filoni probably has a pretty fucking good idea.
Yeah.
Just like, who was your man who played Fred in Scooby Doo in the film with James Gunn? Because he did something for Star Wars.
Yeah, he's what's his name? He's in Rebels. He's
one of the voice characters, isn't he?
Yes.
The voice is one of the characters.
Why can I not think of his name?
And he was on a podcast when that was coming out.
Kanan.
Yeah. He was on a podcast when it was coming out, and he went on a massive rant about how Star Wars fans, for the most part, are fucking dumb. You guys don't have a clue about anything that's going on. Stop moaning. It all makes perfect sense.
Yeah, people like to cry about it, but then they always forget that, like, the Force, the fundamental rule of the Force is everything is balanced. So it's like...
Which is why Anakin is still the chosen one, because he did bring balance to the Force.
Yeah. There's just, like... it's just lots of little things where it's like, there's nothing wrong with some of those things being tweaked, because they overall tie the story together better. Like, one small bit of, like, canon getting broken somewhere for the better betterment of the entire storyline and things making sense, it's totally fine.
Also, I challenge anyone who's complaining about this tiny little problem to go and create a universe as in-depth and impressive and as widely loved as Star Wars without any canon breaks.
Oh yeah.
And do it over the course of like 50 plus years. If you do that, then you get to go and go, oh, Disney are ruining it. Until then, shut the fuck up. Just enjoy it. Or don't. You don't have to enjoy it. But don't try and ruin other people's enjoyment of it.
I love that Owen let him meet Luke, which obviously was needed. It was something was going to happen where he actually met him, so that Luke knew about Ben, who lives out in the desert.
To be aware of him,
yeah. And also needed to get that spaceship.
She needs old Ben Kenobi.
I love that they, and it makes total sense that they would do this, and they obviously would never have been anything different. But the fact that they did it with just hello there, and now we have, I've already seen it online. Someone's put together all 3 hello there's that we have of different eras of Obi-Wan, and it's perfect. Like, it was just like the perfect end to like the season, obviously before the final a little bit. But
so obviously Liam Neeson didn't film anything new for that Force Ghost scene. That was all reused footage.
It'll be reused in deepfakes like they did with Luke.
I really hope if they do decide to do a season 2, they don't continue to do it that way and they get him on board.
They probably will. If it's like a full-on proper role.
While the deepfake technology is very good there, you could tell that wasn't him giving fresh lines. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't a problem. But if it was going to be a 20-minute conversation or like a big part of a series, it needs to be a bit more substantial than that.
Yeah, I wonder if it could be a multitude of things. Like, it could have been because it was such a small thing. They have the technology, because I know from Mandalorian that they hired a guy to do deepfakes, and that technology, and help push it for them at Lucas Arts, whatever, at Disney. And it's like, yeah, cool, they have that technology. They still use Luke for voice lines and for placement and stuff. So it's like, this situation, they don't need like a young Liam Neeson or anything. I wonder if it was one, it could have been a scheduling thing, like he just physically had other stuff going on, like couldn't do it.
Or it was a last minute addition.
Or yeah, it was like a last minute thought of like, oh, we want to do this, but it's quicker to do it the deepfake way rather than having to go through getting him on the film, getting it all done that way. Like,
and I mean, they still had to get his permission to do it because that's his likeness, and just because it's old footage doesn't mean they can reuse it.
Let's be honest, he probably got paid
as we know from Back to the Future, because in the third Back to the Future film, they reused some footage of young George McFly from the first film, and I can't remember the actor's name, sued them over it because he didn't give permission for his likeness to be used again, and they had to pay him a crap ton of money.
Oh yeah, like Disney will happily, or probably have gone to and gone, look, we want to do this. Like,
you'll get a £100,000 check.
Yeah, it's a short thing, so we're just going to use like tech that we have to do it. And it probably came with a thing of like, season 2 though, here's this for you. Or hopefully.
I think my bigger thing about the fact that they will have had to go to him is the fact that he said yes means that he's not got a bad relationship with them or anything like that. It means he's probably quite willing to come back and work with them if they want him to, or if they need him to, which is good. But yeah, overall, I very much enjoyed the series.
Yeah, me too.
More Star Wars content.
I've said this before, but I do really genuinely believe that Mandalorian and this, and like the final seasons of Clone Wars and stuff, has really been kind of the renewed feeling of Star Wars again. Yeah, it's like it's brought Star Wars back, like the feeling of it.
What I will say is, with the width and breadth of the Star Wars universe, I am ready to move on from this period of time. I'm okay for them to continue to wrap stuff up, like with Ahsoka and that, but I need like a 60-year jump in the future so that everyone we know is basically history, so that we can start fresh.
What is it? is it how how do you say Korg's guy Taki Watiti?
I've actually learnt really hard to remember this, and now you
Oh
struggling
no.
has thrown me off. Tititi Watiti. No,
Okay,
no, it's pronounced similar to tiger, so it's like Taika
Taika Watiti.
Waititi.
Yeah. Apparently, he's getting a Star Wars film.
He's very keen to do one, and there's been lots of rumors that he signed on, but nothing official has been confirmed yet.
Well, if he does,
I get the impression he is.
he has made it very clear that he has no interest in doing anything in the Skywalker saga. He wants to do his own characters and his own like storyline and get to start fresh.
Hori, are you telling me one of my favorite directors right now is taking one of my most beloved franchises and going, "Fuck all of you, we're gonna have some fun."
Sounds like it, and I'm all for it.
Because I'm here for it.
Same.
I'll
Like, give
see
us
you
like
all in the cinema.
give us like a more bounty hunter, like
Oh, for sure.
Guardians of the Galaxy, like bounty hunter set group going through like the old Republic where it's like Sith heavy.
Fuck that. Give me a film of a grey Jedi who's just out there doing
Yeah.
their own shit. Grey
Great,
Jedis
that could
are
actually be
fucking
sick.
awesome. Grey Jedis need more big screen love.
They are
And by
rare
more,
though.
I mean any. That's fine. Let them be rare.
Oh no, yeah, like, but yeah,
Jedis are rare.
apparently he wants if he actually does get a film in this like trilogy or whatever, he wants to do something completely different away from
That'd be
Skywalker,
fun.
which I'm all for.
I mean, it's gonna get hated on by a lot of Star Wars fans, but who gives a fuck as long as we enjoy it.
Depends what period of Star Wars he picks.
Anyway,
Yes, enough Star Wars.
moving on. Ms. Marvel episode 3.
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna say right out the gate. While I enjoyed it, this has been the worst episode so far, in my opinion. Still very good, but not as good as episode 1 and 2. And I do have some small nitpicky issues with it.
Okay.
But overall, still very good, progressed the story nicely. My main issue comes in the form of the kind of altercation at the wedding.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way it was shot for the most part. It just felt a bit weird.
There was a lot of jump cuts.
And if they're not going to make her seem like a legitimate threat, they need to make her work harder at trying to get away. It kind of felt like they didn't know whether they wanted her to be running scared, full on fighting them, or kind of fighting them smart. And it genuinely feels like they filmed a version where she's kicking their ass, a version where she's fighting smart, and a version where she's running like it's a horror film, and they've just randomly spliced that footage together.
Okay, so here's my guess on why that fight sequence.
Do you agree with me that it felt off?
Yeah, and I think I know from like watching stuff from like Corridor Digital where they have they go over fight scenes and they have stunt coordinators and stuff on. Because she's a young actress, there's obviously limits on how much of a fight scene she herself can physically do. And I imagine, well, yes, you can get great stunt performers in. Like, as soon as you start doing that, like, it adds cuts and you've got to try and hide stuff. I do wonder if, like, maybe just whatever sequence they chose, they have ended up having to do too many jump cuts and stuff to sell it, like, to hide stunt stuff, which then kind of muddies the actual fight sequence from how it should have felt and how it should have flowed. Because I think the issue was it was just too many jump cuts, and that caused us to feel like we were jumping from different sort of like momentum changes, if that makes sense.
I agree.
I think also they wanted to try and sell that she could kick their ass, but doesn't really know how to control it still. And that's kind of hard to do.
As well. As I was watching it with Jenna, Jenna was like, "Oh, we're gonna get to see her use her powers now." I'm like, well, maybe, but at the same time, these are like ancient beings that are clearly very skilled fighters. We know she's not a skilled fighter. Yes, she's powerful, but she's not skilled.
Yeah, because like
I'm okay with her not kicking their ass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The way they went about the section, it just felt a bit disjointed for me, and it did hamper my enjoyment of the show a little bit. Of the episode, rather, not the show.
I think they were trying to sell that she is strong but can't control it. So like she does kick their ass a little bit. Like she's a kid, so she's trying to run away. It's like it's that weird. They put themselves in a bit of a weird trying to balance act of how they wanted to sell her character, and it's like it just didn't quite come across probably how they wanted to.
Yeah.
There was some cool moments though with her getting to use her powers and different things,
Yeah.
and seeing a bit more of like the limits of her powers, like when she gets smacked and she just the bracelet automatically puts like a suit of armor over her.
Yeah.
Her like screaming out and just smashing like 4 of them away. There was some cool stuff.
I also think this episode, as every episode in a Marvel show eventually does, it's going back to my number one complaint of Marvel shows at the minute. It showed their issue with pacing.
Yeah.
This
But like
the beginning of this episode was her meeting these people for the very first time and thinking they were friends.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the episode, or not even really the end of the episode, a good 10 minutes before the end of the episode, she's already fighting them. And they didn't actually have any interaction between meeting them and them being friends and then fighting them.
Yeah, it feels like they've got the issue of introducing these people. They know they need to be an enemy, but it's like they're trying to cram too much in.
What it seems like what they're trying to do is avoid the issue we've had so far where the last episode feels a bit too rushed.
Yeah.
So the rushed episodes just come earlier. So if another episode doesn't feel rushed now, I'll be able to get over it.
Yeah.
But if we still get a rushed 6th episode, I'm going to be quite agitated by it.
Well, yeah, because
in a 6-episode season, you can't have 2 of them feeling this rushed.
Yeah, I feel like, in my opinion, this episode should have been more. She met them, then they did the whole wedding thing, and maybe at the end of the wedding, she meets them again, and she's just like, I can't. And then
too dangerous. We need to work.
And that's where they're like, the threat of like, well, if you won't help us, we're still doing that. Yeah. And then it's like that tension's risen, and next episode is like the fight, and they have that altercation. I think the issue is, like you said, is the pacing. It's just like they need those 2 things to happen, and maybe they are like, fingers crossed, they're just trying to make it so the end doesn't feel like this. So they've tried to fit it in earlier, or like at the end of it, they're like, we've got too much. Where do we cram it together a bit?
But the fact that we're giving them the credit saying they're aware of the issue they have with the last episode of the series, so they're trying to do it earlier. Just fucking give yourself a couple more episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I still stand by the thing of after a couple of years of Disney Plus, it'll be fine.
If you can edit them properly, because you've got the footage there, just go to Disney and go, hey, with all the footage we shot at no extra cost to you, just within our budget, we've gone this way instead with 9 episodes, and we think it flows a lot better. What do you think? I can't imagine Disney are going to go, you mean for no extra money to us? We're going to get 3 more weeks of milking this, and it all looks better.
As much as I'd love to believe Disney operate in that way.
But do you know what I mean? I know there's like kind of a risk being taken on by the director and the editing team by doing that. But if you can present it to them that way one time, they're more likely to go to then future productions and go, can you get this to 9 episodes or a couple more episodes so the pacing's better without costing us more money on your already quite large budget?
I would love to believe that is a possible thing that they could do and go to Disney with. I still stand by the fact that I think the reason these shows are 6 episodes and feeling a little bit rushed and could be longer is because we're still in like the first 2 years of them putting out their own content on Disney Plus, and they have a very strict schedule of, we want this show, you have 6 episodes because the next big show we want to market is next, and we don't want too much overlap. Like Star Wars is an exception. Like I do feel that Marvel is kind of being limited to 6 episodes and they're making the best they can, but down the line, once they're past this like initial period of Disney Plus and more people are like know about it and are subscribed, like things will open up and more creative freedom will happen. But we can just hope.
But if I had to pick right now, if you told me no matter what, there are always going to be 6 episodes and one episode's going to be disjointed in pace, I would rather it be the middle than the end.
Yeah, agreed.
But I would obviously much rather they just go, oh, here's an extra 1 or 2 episodes to solve your pacing issue.
But other than that, and the fight scene,
outside the fight scene and just the slightly disjointed pacing, the interactions were good. The interaction between Kamala and I forget what the head of a mosque is called, but that gentleman was brilliant outside the front of the house.
Yeah.
The line we've seen a lot in like the trailers and stuff. It's good is not a thing you do. It's not a thing you are. It's a thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Also, love the way they showed the culture of their weddings and how everything that is a part of that and how a ceremony goes and all the they really got to showcase the culture with this episode again, which I love that they're really showcasing that.
Do you know what else I really did enjoy? They didn't make a big deal out of, but it was very clear if you watch it that his wife is clearly a convert. Because her little brother and her parents were wearing like suits and dresses, not traditional.
Oh well,
garments.
yeah, Kamala's brother, his wife, is, from my understanding of watching the show, I would say she's African American or whatever, and like how often happens now is it's two cultures, but it showed that they were very open to a Muslim wedding or whatnot.
But I don't even think it's that, because if you look at the way she's interacting in other episodes, she's fully converted to Islam. It's not just they've done an Islamic wedding. She has converted because she's wearing the headdress and everything in previous episodes when we see her. So I think she's fully converted and her family haven't, and they're just like, yeah, we don't care because why would we?
Well, yeah, it's either that or she's just fully embracing like the other half's culture.
I also noticed in the little dance they did for the bride and groom, her little brother was wearing the green suit that was made for Kamala in episode 1. That cracked me up. That was very, very funny. That's clearly a little boy. That's clearly a little boy who's seen like a Hulk costume and gone, I want to wear this. Can I use this? And Kamala's mum's clearly gone, of course, better. Go for it.
Oh yeah, I thought the whole wedding was great. I thought it was a really good insight into the culture.
Yeah. I would love to go to a Muslim wedding. However, they last traditionally for like 7 days, and I don't know if I could party that hard for that long.
I probably couldn't now at my age.
No. They're built. They are built different when it comes to their celebrations. I respect the fuck out of it.
I also like that we have got a new race of special beings. I don't know what, the Jinn. Also saw something online that was like, could this be a potential link to where the 10 rings have come from?
Maybe. There is a lot of ancient cosmic shit going on in the backgrounds that the majority of people, and this isn't me shitting on people not paying enough attention, just because of the other stuff going on, a lot of people are overlooking this kind of lots of cosmic things are just popping up. You got the Eternals, ancient cosmic beings. You got the 10 rings, ancient cosmic weapon. You've got the Jinn and this bracelet, ancient cosmic. A lot's going on. It's going to link into the multiversal shit going on, clearly like reigniting a lot of them.
Yeah.
But they are important to what's going on, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I do kind of like that they're... I do kind of like the Marvel Mansion to keep everyone kind of looking, oh, look at all the multiverses while it's kind of like a sleight of hand magic show. You know, when the magician's like, look over here and they're doing all the actual important stuff. It kind of feels like that's what might be what they're trying to slip by us, so that when we get the big reveal, everyone kind of go, oh my God, it was there all along. How did we not see? I think would be really, really cool.
It also is keeping, because they've talked about the Jinn and they're from a different universe, a different plane of existence, or whatever you want to call it. Realm. There's always while they're not directly saying they're from a different multiverse, there's this constant, even in the shows, where they're reminding us that this multiverse is happening and we're slowly getting clues to it. And it keeps the fan base just remembering that the big thing going on is this whole multiverse thing.
And we also got a shout out for Dr. Eric Selvig again, from the Thor films.
Yeah.
Shout out my homie.
Yeah. With his little paper or thing on.
Oh, yeah, on multi-dimension travel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm curious to see where the next 3 episodes go. But if we do get more fight scenes, I hope they improve because I found it a bit lackluster.
I also like that Cameron kind of because obviously he's not fully Jin. He was born here on Earth, whatever. So it makes him, I don't know, half Jin or whatever. I like that he came and told, like, he switched sides on them, but then he's gone down with them by the DODC, the damage control guys.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Jin will probably just escape because they're Jin. He's probably going to be the scapegoat for them. So does that mean then Kamala helps him out? And wherever there, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with his character.
I'm very, very curious. I also kind of, while I'm not a big fan of kind of forced romances in TV shows, I do love how, while not making it a big deal, the show is making it pretty obvious that Bruno is madly in love with Kamala.
Yeah, he's got the good old high school crush going.
Yeah, he is so in love with her. But
I also like that.
So awkward.
Kamala's other friend, she finally finds out. Not that they've really talked her over properly yet, but she now knows.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the little squad going.
I also did really enjoy the line from Bruno at the end where she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like limping and he's like, "No."
Yeah, no. I've just been thrown across a room.
Yeah, a lot of the time people just kind of brush stuff off when actually,
yeah, I'm fine.
In the grand scheme of superhero shows, something like that normally isn't seen as a big injury. But he's like, "No, it fucking hurt. I got thrown across the room through a table. What, like, I'm not a superhuman. What do you want from me?"
Even Kamala, like, made note of the fact that she was like, "Well, I fell off a drone onto an armored truck, and yeah, I mean, it's fine as you can be after that. I'm feeling it a few days later, like, sort of thing." It's like,
yeah, I've got a bruise on my knee and I'm limping a little bit. I'll be fine.
But yeah, I mean, overall, loving the show. Excited to see like where this story's going and how it's gonna like really tie in.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we've got some banger episodes coming up.
Yeah.
The Boys.
No.
I'm sure you're going to take the lead for this, aren't you, Hori? I know you're a big Boys fan.
So The Boys season 3 episode 5 is out. One guy does one thing, absolutely horrific. Can't believe he did it. Never seen something like it on TV before. Honestly shocked me to my core. But hilarious episode. Loved every second of it.
What did you think of our Seth Rogen cameo?
Oh, I mean, wouldn't be a Boys episode without a Seth Rogen cameo.
Okay, so
no, I haven't seen a single thing yet.
I really should be writing down notes for The Boys each week because it comes out on the Friday. We record this on the Thursday night, so I've basically got like a full 7 days.
Plus 2 episodes come out in between.
What's happened. Yeah, plus other stuff that I watch in between. So I really should remember to take notes. But I mean, I think that shows how well ingrained it gets.
Yeah.
So, end of the last episode that we spoke about, which is even more impressive because that's like a fortnight ago, Alex got killed off. And and Soldier Boy got released and shit like that. So now we're back in America. Huey and Butcher are wearing off Temp V. Kamiko's like bleeding out and she's getting rushed to hospital because she might die. Shit going wrong. Mother's Milk is fuming that Butcher and Huey have taken Temp V because they're supposed to be against superheroes and they're fucking trying to become them.
Right.
And Starlight is obviously shook the fuck up because one of her superpowered friends has just had his entire body caved in.
Yeah, fair.
So Starlight goes over to see Huey to find out if they managed to get the weapon that they were going to rush for that was going to kill Homelander. And she notices that Huey's arm isn't broken anymore.
Okay.
And she's like, "How the fuck did that happen, bro? Fuck happened there, bruh?" So he admits that he used Temp V, and that he loved it. And Huey is definitely like psychologically addicted to it, not like physically craving it, but psychologically he's like, "I want this all the time."
Right.
But he promised he wouldn't do it ever again.
Mm.
He explained that Soldier Boy was the weapon. There wasn't actually a weapon. And that they
Right.
were currently trying to come up with a plan to locate Soldier Boy and hopefully get him on their side.
Okay.
And Starlight's kind of like, you know what, fuck you, fuck this. I'm going back to my tower because I can't even make heads or tails of this shit anymore.
That's a fair reaction.
We get to see Homelander in his first board meeting as like the CEO of Vought after getting the previous CEO locked up.
Right.
And he starts hearing people talk about financials and shit. And then like the true man-child he is. And make no mistake, while Homelander is very, very dangerous, he is simply a spoilt fucking brat. That's like his mentality. He's not a supervillain mentality. He is a spoiled child who can't be stopped.
Right.
So he's sitting here talking about people, talking about turnovers, and someone literally just makes a suggestion. It's like, we probably need to do this if we're going to be able to hit our quarterly goal, blah, 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 blah. And he takes that as a personal insult on him being the CEO for not even 24 hours. and kicks them out of the meeting.
I thought you were going to say he just kills him as a man.
No, he doesn't. But he like kicks them out of the meeting. He's like, get the fuck out. You think I'm stupid? You think you're better than me? He's got like this inferiority complex while being... What he is he is walking, talking, I am the victim. He's going to gaslight everyone. Like, I know...
Make a great Prime Minister.
He's literally toxic masculinity wrapped in a bubble and given OP superpowers.
Oh, great.
And that is why he's such... And as stupid as it sounds, that's why he's such an interesting character. Because he's not trying to take over the world. He just wants everyone to love and adore him because I'm the good guy. Why isn't everyone rooting for me? I'm a great guy.
Delirious.
Yeah, literally. And that's what makes him so compelling of a character. But anyway, while that's going on, Soldier Boy has found his way back to New York.
Okay.
After being locked in ice for like 60 years. So he's walking down a New York City street, seeing black people on the same sidewalk as him, and gay people openly holding hands and kissing, and he's just confused as to what the fuck's going on.
Fair.
He then goes to a shop or something, and I can't remember exactly what it is he sees. It escapes me. But it triggers his new superpower, and he basically launches a small explosion out of his body by mistake and takes out like a city block and kills loads of people.
Oh.
And like the boys kind of go, ah, shit, that's him. We better go try and work out what's going on. And it then cuts to Vought Tower, where you got the Seven watching the news coverage of it. And Starlight's like, hey, we should probably, stop that guy, right, Homelander, since we're like superheroes. And Homelander then turns around, and this is the best bit of the episode, in my opinion, like single line. He then basically recites what the woman he kicked out of the meeting for accusing him of being dumb said to Starlight. Like, we've got bigger things to worry about with the turnovers and profit margins than just one guy who accidentally blew up a building. And he doesn't have a clue what the fuck he's saying. But someone who he deemed was more intelligent than him and was insulting his intelligence said it, so he just blindly repeats it. When in reality, what he's saying is, I can't be fucked, and that guy kind of looks dangerous.
Yeah.
So then what we get is, we get an introduction of a character who a lot of people are very excited about, called The Legend.
Legend.
Who apparently is supposed to be like a Stanley parody ripoff. So like, he worked in Vought back in the 80s. And he managed the talent. He was the talent manager. So when Heroes fucked up and accidentally killed a hooker, he was the one who dealt with it.
Right. Clean up crew.
Yeah. So obviously he's got loads of memorabilia. He's always talking about the heyday. These new superheroes today don't know how to do shit. All that kind of stuff. Think of it like an old school music producer kind of guy.
Yeah, I get you.
But he has a relationship with Mother's Milk and stuff, who are obviously very anti-superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not that the legend loves superheroes or respects them. He just made money off of them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like Butcher because of something that happened in the past.
Okay.
But basically, they're like, we know Soldier Boy definitely came to see you. What did he want?
Oh.
Because they're like, when Soldier Boy went into the ice, you was still like the guy, so he's definitely going to come and find you to find out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
So basically, what we find out is the legend still had Soldier Boy's costume.
Ah.
So Soldier Boy took that, but Soldier Boy was looking for his ex-girlfriend who was part of the super team when they were at the top of their game.
Right.
So basically, his girlfriend. We then cut to his girlfriend, and this is where we get our Seth Rogen cameo.
Oh, did that actually happen?
Yeah, no, there was actually a Seth Rogen cameo. And the best bit is he's playing a parody of himself.
Oh, of course. Why wouldn't he be?
So basically, now this is a bit of a callback to episode 2, when they go and try and talk to her to get information about what happened to Soldier Boy.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, she'd released a song which you can listen to on YouTube. The full song is on YouTube.
Oh.
Basically about how apes can't cry. So we don't know how much pain they're in.
Right.
And they're in a lot of pain, Hori.
Oh.
So she's trying to raise money to help the apes.
R.I.P. Harambe.
And whoever donated the most money would get a private video chat with her.
Interesting.
The person who paid the most money was Seth Rogen.
Of course it was.
And basically what he wanted on his video chat was for her to take big ass anal beads and shove off her ass. Bear in mind, this woman is in like her 60s.
Oh God, Seth Rogen, how far you've fallen.
She's not stripped off or anything. We don't get that far.
God.
But basically, as she's in the middle of doing that, Butcher and Huey have worked out, obviously, that Soldier Boy's going to see her through talking to the legend.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically tie her up and use her as bait.
Fair.
Mother's Milk thinks they're going to stop him before he kills her.
Hmm.
And Starlight turns up out of the blue.
Okay.
And finds out that Huey and Butcher have once again taken Temp V.
Ah, classic.
So she is actively furious. And basically, Huey's whole argument is, I just want to save you from Homelander. He's put you in a horrible position. You're in danger. I just care about you and want to save you. Which, like, everyone kind of gets, but at the same time, she's like, I'm a fucking superhero. I don't need saving. I need you to be safe and not fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Which is also a very valid point.
Yeah.
So they're off having an argument.
Mm-hmm.
Butcher then drugs Mother's Milk.
Oh.
And basically says to Soldier Boy, hey, we've tied up your ex-girlfriend for you. Feel free to go in there and kill her, but I need you to agree that you're going to work with us. It's basically the conversation.
Right.
So then he goes in there and blows her up using his weird inbuilt explosive thing. And walks away and agrees to work. Starlight's like, what the fuck, Huey? Did you know this was Butcher's plan? And Huey's like, kinda. Please
yeah,
don't
but
be
no,
mad.
but yeah, but no.
We need him to kill Homelander, which is obviously what I'm trying to do because I want to save you because I'm such a good boyfriend. I'm definitely not addicted to having superpowers. Yeah, and that's kind of where that bit ends. But what the parallel story, because I've gone one story arc, there's another story arc going in, which is around Kamiko, who's obviously had the shit kicked out of her. So Kamiko's power is basically she's super strong, super fast, super agile, and she can heal from basically any wound.
Right.
But after their trip to Russia, she wasn't healing, and she was on death's door.
Right.
So she's come out of her coma, and she basically got Frenchie to give her like a printer, and she could like barely hold it, and she couldn't rip it in half or anything. She was like, "Oh my god, I think my powers are gone." She can't speak, but that's what she was signing to him. She was like, "My powers are gone. I'm not strong," and she's hated her powers since the moment she got them.
Right.
She thinks they make her a monster, and that everyone just sees her as a weapon, and she just wants to run away and be normal.
Mm-hmm.
Frenchie is in love with her, and a lot of stuff is mounting up around him and his past life, as well as Butcher and Huey taking V, and it's all very dangerous. And now that obviously Kamiko isn't safe herself because she doesn't have her powers anymore, he's kind of like, yeah, fuck it, let's run away, babe. Fuck it.
Yeah. Off into sunset.
So basically, they're in her hospital bed watching a musical, and we then get like the musical dance scene in her head, which was quite funny and on the internet. And obviously, it can't be planned, but the fact that this episode with this musical dance scene out of nowhere, happened in the same week as the Joker 2 potentially being a musical news is fucking hilarious to me. Because obviously they've already edited this. This is planned to go.
Yeah,
up.
they don't
The news
know.
happened to break. There's no way they could have planned it, but at the same time, it's a very boys kind of thing to take the piss out of.
Yeah.
So I thought that was brilliant that happened at the same
Perfect
time.
timing.
So yeah, that's The Boys episode 5. Again, a very good episode. The story is moving. As people who are on a similar part of the internet to me will have seen, Herogasm has been trending all week. I said I'm going to avoid basically everything.
You did.
One bit of information got to me, but I kind of already knew it, and it doesn't really spoil anything. All I know is why it's called Herogasm. And basically, the whole idea is every year, Thor made up like this big bad for all the superheroes to run off and fight together as a big team up.
Right.
And in reality, all they did was rent a private island, and all the heroes just had an orgy all weekend long.
Oh, okay.
So they get a big PR boost because all the public are like, look at all our heroes saving the world together. And then all the heroes get a nice morale boost because they all get to go have a drug, alcohol, sex-fueled weekend.
Hell of a weekend.
Obviously, while this is going on, I imagine shenanigans take place that are going to be quite disturbing. But that is like the main premise of the story and like the setting for the story.
Okay.
I've also seen a set picture leaked.
Oh God.
Of Huey's character, the actor who plays Huey in like a kimono, which is clearly for after he's filmed his scene, standing in front of, you know, one of them fucking wooden X's that have got like the handcuffs and stuff on them.
Oh God.
Yeah. And I've also seen some of the bingo cards that people have put together for this episode.
Oh no.
And holy shit, like, I mean, it's in the press and stuff, it's been spoken about quite lightheartedly by the actors, but they also need to drum up the disgustingness of the episode. And like one of them said they were turning up to set to film their scenes for the episode, and they spoke to a camera guy who'd clearly been working on it all day, and he was just sat there and he just looked up and he gone, "I've seen some shit, man."
God, yeah, you've been a cameraman for TV and film, not cameraman for adult film.
So, as I said at the beginning, there's been lots of jokes on the internet about, oh, make sure you watch this full volume in the library with your family. Do not watch this episode with anyone you would not happily watch this episode naked with, is my rule. I think that's the safest way to go. If you would not be willing to watch TV with this person butt ass naked, do not watch the show with them. However, if you do want to watch this episode with your family and record everyone's reactions to it, you will get a lot of views on the internet.
Yeah, do a Gogglebox episode. So,
like, there are your two options. Go viral, not scar your entire family. But the internet tomorrow, I think, could be a very interesting place.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And I'm very excited to watch this episode. I've got no doubt that there will probably be moments that I go to, but that is the whole point of The Boys and this story. It's supposed to be an outrageous parody that takes it to extremes, and this is that story.
Sounds like it, anyway.
So, obviously, we're probably not filming an episode next week.
No.
I may record by myself a review of the Herogasm episode.
Fair.
Because, no offense, Story, he won't really have anything to add anyway.
Oh. I think my review of today's episode was great.
But it could be worth it. If anyone watching this is particularly desperate for me to do a review of it, let me know. If not, I might give it a miss and just remember to take notes this time so that when we discuss it in 2 weeks' time, I haven't completely forgotten.
Yeah. It sounds like you won't forget anyway, so.
Yeah, it does sound like it will be permanently ingrained in my brain. Either that or I'll be sitting there for the just going, yeah, so superheroes and stuff. And this brings us on to our last piece of new content for the week. Umbrella Academy episode 1. So I know the entire series gets put on Netflix all in one go. It came out yesterday. Give me a fucking break.
That explains why I saw someone was like, and I've finished Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. So Netflix always dumps all of its stuff at the same time. And don't get me wrong, I kind of like that because like we're at the end of Kenobi, we're midway through Miss Marvel and the Boys, which are weekly. So if I get a superhero craving, I can just throw on Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get episode 1 out so that I could talk about the beginning of it. So Umbrella Academy season 2 ended with them avoiding ending the world and
classic
traveling back to their original time where they're all from, and not the 60s where they were all trapped.
Cool.
The cliffhanger at the end of season 2 is they get back to their house and they get told, this isn't the house for the Umbrella Academy. This is the house of the Sparrow Academy. Blah, 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 blah. I'm your father, but I'm not your father anymore. Blah, blah, blah. So obviously episode 1 is just kind of explaining that cliffhanger.
Right.
And that's about it, really. It kind of sets up the threat for the show, but nothing really more. So obviously, Elliot Page was in the show season 1 and 2 and played Vanya before they came out as a trans man. We know during season 3, Vanya becomes Victor to align with Elliot becoming a man. That isn't from the instant, so they're not just pretending that Vanya never existed. So in episode 1, Elliot is still playing Vanya.
Right.
I did kind of peruse the episode briefs, I guess. What would you call it? The little description of the episode.
Yeah.
Whatever
description.
It is.
I just call them.
I kind of just scanned that without trying to take anything in. The first mention of Victor I see is episode 3.
Okay.
So I get the impression maybe Vanya Victor isn't in episode 2 at all. And then episode 3 we get introduced to Victor. Not that it matters, that's just the way it is. But basically the entire episode is just a big ass fight scene.
Fair.
So we get a little introduction to the Sparrow Academy and the 7 members of the Sparrow Academy. One of the members of the Sparrow Academy is the member of the Umbrella Academy who died when they were all kids.
Right.
So clearly in this new timeline they accidentally created, he didn't die.
Yeah.
And basically what we find out is when they went to see the person who would adopt them and become their father back in the 60s to ask for help, he was so unimpressed with them because he's a rich arsehole that he decided he would adopt different kids this time. Which is why the Umbrella Academy doesn't exist. But, I mean, he kind of made the right decision because this Sparrow Academy is wildly successful and popular. They then spend about 15 to 20 minutes getting that arse beat. Like an old school superhero introduction to all of them. To see what like their powers are like and what they can do and how cool they are. This fight scene obviously ends with Umbrella Academy getting their absolute arse kicked. And the only reason they kind of get out of their life is Vanya, who's mega powerful and accidentally destroyed the world twice, kind of has a mini seizure that knocks everyone the fuck out and they manage to escape.
Oh, okay. Easy.
We then get like a shot of the basement where this kind of little red angry looking ball thing appears.
Right.
And basically my interpretation is that that ball is a tear in reality caused by them being a paradox.
Right.
because of course, if they were never adopted,
Yeah,
their
then,
relationships wouldn't exist for them to have ended up accidentally going back in time to create the situation in which they don't exist.
yeah.
Then we get to see them trying to work out what the fuck is going on. You've got Five, who is the one who can time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And although he looks like a 13-year-old boy, he's actually like 80 years old
Right.
because of the time travel shenanigans.
Yeah.
So he's like a really grumpy guy, and he's just like, will you idiots just shut the fuck up while I try and work out what's going on? And he's kind of like, now remember, I think we're fine based on what I know, but we have alternate versions of ourselves that exist in this version of the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
We have to avoid them at all costs, otherwise shit could
Yeah.
go really wrong. So at some point we're going to have some fun with doppelgangers, 100%. And the episode kind of ends with Vanya saying to the Sparrow Academy's number one, leave me, my brothers and sisters, the fuck alone. Otherwise, I will come outside your house, stand amongst all your adoring fans, challenge you to a fight, and literally kill you.
Fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to think about that, but fuck you just in general. And then the very end of the episode is the angry bull gets a little bit angrier and bigger. We see the dog at the hotel that the Umbrella Academy are like hiding out at kind of get eaten by like this energy pulse that it sent out, as well as number one from the Sparrow Academy get eaten. So it kind of looks like this angry little bull's trying to build up power to eat this reality so that it can reset the timeline or something, I guess.
Possibly.
Also, side note, the rich arsehole billionaire who adopted them, because he is such a rich arsehole billionaire, he didn't want to actually parent them himself. So he designed a robot that would be their mother.
Right.
The robot mother believes the red angry ball is God and is praying to it.
Should a robot believe things like that?
I don't know. If it believes in stuff like that, is it more of an android than a robot? These are the big questions, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's episode 1 of like a 10-episode series. It wasn't going to give the whole house away.
No.
It kind of just resolved the cliffhanger at the end and let us know what was going on.
Yeah.
And then begins to set up what's going to go on throughout the rest of the series. It was very, very good. Like I said, we're probably not going to record next week. By the time we next speak, I will have probably finished the entire series.
A rundown.
So I'll probably need to take some notes on that as well, so that I don't forget any big bits. But that could be quite a long bit. But no, I'm excited. The Umbrella Academy again is the 4 things we've spoken about is Pew Pew Connor doesn't have to think, just enjoy lightsabers. Nice. What if a child got superpowers?
Yeah.
What if a child with superpowers became a flaming arsehole? And then dysfunctional brothers and sisters with superpowers. It's like lots of differences.
Variations,
and yeah, it keeps me happy. So yeah, that wraps up on new content for the week.
Keeps you happy till Sony news comes out.
And then Sony have to go and be Sony, don't they? Because we don't get anything.
It wouldn't be a cutscene Convos episode about us
Sony
complaining about Sony, would it?
I've kind of like, obviously we're a small podcast and I don't worry too much about money because we're doing this for fun. I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that Sony are never going to allow us to get a dime from them. And you know what? If they stopped being shit, it might bother me. They're so shit, doesn't bother me yet. Xbox gang. So Hori gets sent the notes that I have other than like the in-depth notes of the character profiles. So like Hori knows what is the quote here and what isn't.
I had already seen this on my Twitter.
Yeah. Sony dropped the ball again by ruining Kraven. That's my take. This is then the actual quote. Aaron Taylor Johnson's Kraven will be an animal lover and a protector of the natural world in Sony's spin-off movie. According to Taylor Johnson, a departure from the most depictions of Kraven in the comics. So, for those of you who don't know, and like we said, we like to be more entry level here.
Yeah.
Kraven, it's being called Kraven. Kraven's name is Kraven the Hunter. He is a big game hunter who is always depicted as wearing little bones as a necklace and teeth as a necklace with like a vest that is a lion's face. That is literally a lion. It's been carved off a lion and turned into a vest.
Yeah, he literally wears a lion's full pelt.
Yeah. His beef with Spider-Man is not that Spider-Man's wronged him. He just wants to kill Spider-Man and mount Spider-Man's head on a wall to prove he is the best hunter in the world. The man doesn't like or care about animals. The man is this idea of him being an animal lover and a protector of the natural world literally could not be more opposite of Kraven the Hunter. So I ask again, the fuck is going on over at Sony?
The best, I saw this on my Twitter. When I saw it, I was like, Connor's going to talk about this because it's going to...
Like, come on.
And the best thing I saw underneath was it's like, he's called Kraven the Hunter, not Kraven from Peter.
Do you know what I mean? Like, fuck me.
Like,
now, I'm sure if you've watched a number of episodes, you do feel like I rag on Sony.
They don't help themselves, though.
I try and give everyone an equal chance, but that chance moves based on numerous decisions. I.e., Marvel make lots of good decisions. I give them more leeway.
Yeah.
DC make good and bad decisions, so they're kind of in the middle. Sony continually make bad decisions, so they get very little leeway.
To none. The only thing they've done well is Spider-Man, and that's with Disney's help.
Yeah, and the animated Spider-Mans, which they don't think of an animated film as worth anything, so they don't really pay that much attention to it, which allows the creative and intelligent people to do a good job. What the fuck is the point of a Kraven the Hunter film if this man all of a sudden loves animals?
I'm all...
I swear to God, if they try and make Kraven vegan, because I will probably go and see the film. If I'm sitting there and we get like an obvious, clear indication that he's vegan, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go and demand a refund.
You didn't see Morbius, so wait till the trailer's out before you say you're gonna go see it.
Yeah, the difference is I believe Aaron Taylor Johnson can actually act, whereas I don't believe Jared Leto can act. So it might still be like a passable film. The film might make me angry, but it might not be like a god awful film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with these film studios tweaking things away.
Does it make sense?
Like,
these characters have been around for ages.
I get altering things from the comics, but to completely change a
motivation for a character,
like their whole characteristic, like, just doesn't make sense. Because if he loves animals, he's not. By that means, he shouldn't be wearing a lion pelt. So you're completely changing his style and his look.
Put it this way: this is conceptually the same as making the Jedi the bad guys and the Sith the good guys.
Yeah.
Conceptually,
it's like me coming out with a film now, going, "Oh, so we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's in his period where he disappeared for a while. He's actually Darth. Like, he's got a red lightsaber. And
you've got brave old Anakin Skywalker trying to stop him from murdering the galaxy.
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I want to give Sony a chance because they own lots of good characters who you could do lots of good things with. I would argue Spider-Man and Batman have the two most iconic rogues galleries.
Yeah.
And what Sony are doing is methodically going through Spider-Man's rogue gallery, going, oh yeah, there's some good stuff there. Toby. Why?
This feels like they've gone, like we've said before, where they just look through the list of what they can make, and they're like, oh, no one's made a Kraven film. Oh, that wouldn't probably go down well in 2022's culture because of animals and animal loving. We need to change this.
You know what it is? You know when you get them people who hate the fact that a film has a black lead going, oh, it's just woke for woke's sake. This is actually woke for woke's sake.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, we can't have someone who hates animals be the protagonist.
We can't make
of
a
our
film about hunting these animals that are endangered, IRL.
Yeah, exactly.
People won't be able to discern that this is a supervillain film.
Yeah,
so we need to change it. Like, yeah, they're making a.
In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and find this tweet and I'm going to pin it. And every time I get someone with a really shitty opinion going, this is just woke for woke's sake, I'm just going to link them to this tweet and go, no, this is woke for woke's sake.
Yeah.
Casting a black lead isn't woke for woke's sake. That's choosing a good actor for their role.
Yeah.
This is changing a character to make no fucking sense because people like animals.
Yeah, they just don't. What it is they don't want to make a film about hunting animals because they're scared of the backlash.
Yeah.
And there probably would be no backlash because people go,
oh, no, I mean, Peter would complain.
Yeah, but Peter's full of a load of crap, let's be honest.
I mean, yeah, Peter don't even protect animals properly anyway, so...
But it'd just be like, people go, oh, he's called Kraven the Hunter, this is a supervillain film, like, okay, cool.
What they've done is they've come up with an entirely different character, and they've just called him Kraven. That's what it is.
And they're going to try and swing it as like, oh, this is some multiverse, where he actually loves animals and doesn't hate them, and he doesn't hunt them, and he actually protects them.
As far as I'm concerned at this point, Sony can literally burn as a company. Anyway, moving on.
Yes.
Kevin Feige says we're months away from fully understanding the future of the MCU. There is an extended quote that goes along with this, where he basically goes, we've been hinting at it for a little while now, but I think over the next couple of months with the projects coming out, people are going to really start to get a full idea of what we've got going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really much more else to say around that. It means that Secret War's kind of going to get confirmed in a post-credit scene or something.
Yeah.
And maybe the underlying shit that I'm just going to be honest, us fucking nerds have noticed around all the cosmic shit going on, that's going to get pulled in a little bit.
Yeah, and I imagine with him saying months away, the next big film is Thor. So it's like...
We've got Thor and Black Panther in the months away category in my mind.
So I think out of those two, Thor is going to be the one that really like opens up to like the fuck's going on.
Unless, I mean, Black Panther 2 ends with us getting a T'Challa variant.
Yeah. Possibly.
Because while initially the internet's gut reaction was do not recast T'Challa, I think it's been long enough now, and his family coming out and going, Chadwick would not want this amazing character to die with him.
Well, yeah,
I think public backing of a recast has garnered a lot of momentum.
Publicly, people didn't want just his character to be recast and continue as is. I think publicly people genuinely were always okay with the fact of Black Panther as a hero could easily continue. They just have to transition it properly. Yeah. Whether that was it transitioned to his sister or it transitioned to a variant or something else. Yeah. Like,
give us the really lazy comic book style. Oh, it's a variant. He's now going to stay here. I'm fine with that. I won't moan about it. I won't bitch about it. They do not even need to explain it particularly well. Just go, he is a variant. Do not worry about how he got here. He is now Black Panther.
Well, you can easily explain it now after Doctor Strange. You can go, here's a variant. He was from a planet that had an incursion, so he left. Now he's here. Like,
honestly, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be well put together. It does not need to be well thought out. This is still comic book characters. Shit happens in comic books all the time without proper explanation. This can be one of them times. Yeah. And I right now am sitting here, and if I do complain about it, people can pull me up on it.
Oh, don't worry.
If they just go for a really lazy variant, our T'Challa's dead. Rest in peace. We love you. This new T'Challa's here. He's going to help. That's fine. Cool.
So, speaking on we're months away, did you see the new Thor extra teaser that came out today?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, no. No.
Should have linked it to you. I forgot. I just remembered it then.
So, co-host.
Basically, it's just this short little thing. and there's a few extra scenes again, as there always is. And there was one that particularly caught my eye. And they're on the boat with the goats pulling it, and it's flying up, and it looks like they're leaving Zeus's place, or wherever they meet Zeus. And they're going through like what looks like they're smashing through a window or whatnot. But there's two giant why is they gone out my brain? Not Celestials. Celestials? The ones with the 6 eyes. They're at the end of the Eternals. The big thing.
Oh, yeah, Celestials.
Yeah, there's 2 of them there.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, and I instantly was like, hang on a second, pause, go back a few frames. And there's 2 of them in that place. So I'm wondering if where he meets Zeus is actually
some
him.
Kind of bathhouse for gods.
Well, not necessarily that. I'm wondering if it's some organized meeting of lots of gods and beings trying to figure out.
Kind of coming together, going, "Hey yo, who keeps
someone's
all the boys?
Someone's hunting us," and maybe it's Thor coming and being like, "Look, this is what's going on." But yeah,
maybe they think it is Thor. Maybe that's why we saw him chained up when he was talking to Zeus. Maybe they think it's Thor doing it.
I wonder if it was they didn't trust. They thought it was like whoever is killing them is faking themselves as Thor because they think Thor's dead or gone somewhere else. But yeah, I just noticed there was 2 Celestials, and I was like, "Oh,
interesting." Interesting.
So there's obviously going to be some like more. There's more going on there, which to like tie in these different worlds. So I wonder whether we see an Eternal there, or if we see one of the Jinn there, and like maybe we see some of these other celestial
Harry
races.
Styles cameo.
Oh,
little Harry Styles cameo.
Imagine.
I cannot wait, and I know this sounds really reductionist, and I hate it, but I cannot wait for the basic white girls who go and watch a Marvel film
just Harry Styles
because Harry Styles is in it to find out what a piece of shit Starfox is in the comics. That's really funny to me. I mean, obviously, this style of Starfox is going to be different because there's no way Harry Styles would agree to be the comic book Starfox. He's going to be different, but I cannot wait for people on the internet to have a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, there's going to be some
going. He's a rapist in the comics, by the way.
Yeah, there's going to be some media outlet that goes, Harry Styles plays the character from comic books, and then there's going to be all his fans just defending him.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's not actually rapist. He's just an actor. It's like, we know it's just funny. And don't get me wrong, Starfox is always kind of explained as being a very attractive guy, so it makes sense for Harry Styles to play him. And obviously, that comic book got so much backlash anyway and is widely hated. So they're never going to adapt to that story. But a lot of people are very fucking aware of that story.
Yeah, and I think actually them casting Harry Styles and being such a big name that he is kind of a very easy way for them to shift the perspective of Starfox and reset it to some new, like, to the point where everyone goes, Starfox? Oh, that's the guy Harry Styles played. Yeah. Rather than going, oh, that's the bad comics.
Let's be honest. Does anyone have a legitimate reason to dislike Harry Styles? Like, honestly. Oh, he was in a boy band that was cool with girls my age, so I don't particularly like him. Like, there's no real reason to dislike him.
Teenage girls.
Yeah. Like, he's
nice,
great guy. He's polite, he's quite talented, he's good looking.
He's British.
He doesn't give a fuck if people care that he's wearing a dress. He just does whatever the fuck he wants. And he does it in a very respectful, not being an arsehole about it way.
He's
I am
great friends with Elton John.
Yeah, I have literally zero issue with Harry Styles.
Oh, he's great.
He's in another film that's coming out soon.
Is it called The Policeman? No.
No. It's Don't Worry, Darling with Florence Pugh.
Oh, okay.
It kind of looks like a sci-fi kind of what do you call it? Like psychological thriller.
Okay.
And he looks quite good in that as well. So I'm actually not too worried about his ability to act either. I think he's actually going to be completely fine. I don't think he's going to be one of these people who tries to make acting work and just can't hack it. I think he's actually going to do all right.
He is also in a film called My Policeman.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
Which I thought I saw a trailer or something for that the other day, and I was like, oh, that's Harry Styles. So it seems he's doing a few.
After we finish recording this, go watch the trailer for the Red Band trailer for Don't Worry, Darling, and you'll realise why people are very excited for that film.
Oh, God.
Anyway, moving on to the next point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember why I came up with this because I'm really bad at coming up with like more generic things for us to talk about. But I saw something about sidekicks and it made me really curious. What do you think in comic books, TV shows, films, whatever? What makes a good sidekick? Who has been one of your favorite sidekicks, regardless of what interpretation? And do you think sidekicks are over or underused or what?
Um, I'd say sidekicks are at least because obviously I don't have a ton of comic knowledge. So from a film and TV aspect, I'd say sidekicks are very underused. I don't feel like we've had more just solo superhero stuff than anything with sidekicks. Um, what makes a good sidekick? I feel like for a sidekick to be good, there kind of needs to be a very solid connection and reason why they are a sidekick to the main hero, and like what that there needs to be like a very strong relationship connection there, some sort, whatever that reason might be, like how we've seen the different ones for all the different Robins and stuff.
So,
And then I would say they also you kind of want sidekicks that play on the weaknesses of their main hero, so they are valuable and not just like, oh, they just do the same thing but slightly weaker.
this is exactly what I agree with. This is kind of where my mind's at with it. So, in my opinion, because of how long they've been about and how consistently well they've been done, I think Robin as a mantle, not as an individual, Robin is the best sidekick.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think the reason they're so good is for the most part, they are always what Bruce Batman needs them to be.
Yeah.
In the sense of they keep him a little bit lighter so that he doesn't go too far. They give him a constant to care about so that he's not reckless.
Mm-hmm.
And they are always quite pure. Don't get me wrong, they always end up getting a little bit darkened by what they go through, i.e. Jason Todd.
Yep.
But they have this kind of Batman's a cynic, Robin isn't.
Yeah, I get you.
And I think that's where I kind of sit with what is a good sidekick. It's kind of they need to be everything the hero morally and mentally can't be.
Yeah.
The sidekick needs to be that for them.
Yeah, because it gives them reason to be there.
Yeah, so if it's like someone like the Flash, who at times can be a bit idealistic, a good sidekick for him would be someone who can keep him grounded and keep him realistic with what he can do. Because if you get a hero that's too idealistic, you could end up with kind of a Richards situation, where he kind of creates a super genius underground group like the Illuminati to try and do everything from the shadows, which is not a good thing morally. Whereas Batman is obviously, like we said, he's a cynic. He needs someone who's going to go, hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Look, we saved them people. We did a good thing.
I think also the reason Robin has always worked so well is each version of Robin, there's always been some very solid relationship connection as to why they became Robin. Exactly. And why they were chosen to be Robin. It's not like they've just gone, oh, here's someone else some kid that's trying to be a superhero, but they're a bit weaker than Batman, so Batman's gonna just take him on, and they kind of do the same things, but he's just teaching him. It's more like, no, this Robin's here because like Batman realized Robin needed him, like he needed someone to take him in and guide him properly, and also like he is a great opposite to Batman.
Now I hate to make you laugh here.
Oh god, here we go.
But you've just kind of exposed yourself.
Oh,
because you've gone. No. Robin always has a really good relationship with Batman. The real ones know that Carey Kelly didn't have that good a relationship. So in the iconic The Dark Knight Returns comic,
right,
that was done by Frank Miller, which is kind of the really old Batman. He had given it up like 30 years ago after Jason died,
Hmm.
But now he comes back because basically he's got a personality disorder, and he starts hearing Batman's voice in his head, and
Right.
some of the villains kind of rear their ugly heads. So he's like, I have to come now and deal with this. In that, he picks up a new Robin. Don't get me wrong, it's not just like, actually, it is. He just grabs a random child essentially.
Ah. Hmm.
The child is in danger and is like the first person he saves. Then the child goes out and gets a Robin costume and kind of runs into danger.
Right.
At which point Batman kind of goes, I can't really get you out of here safely right now, so for right this minute you are Robin. And then she kind of proves herself.
Right.
But other than that particular Robin, yes, they always have very strong relationships as to why they become Robin. But I just had to hit you a little
That's
bit
fine.
of nerd knowledge. Just had to prove my house as the
why
official nerd.
I'm the amateur here.
Yeah, why Hori is the color commentator. But anyway, so yeah, I think I agree with you as well with the in visual media such as films and TVs, sidekicks are horribly underused. You know my opinion on the next Robert Pattinson film as Batman. I
Yeah.
desperately need him to have a Robin.
Yeah.
Because Batman without Robin feels wrong. Don't get me wrong. Batman's been done quite well in a lot of media.
Hmm.
Batman without Robin is fucking wrong.
Yeah. No.
There is a reason every time they've got rid of a Robin in the comics, it's not that long before he gets a new one. Because they're like, it's really difficult to write Batman without Robin, you know?
Mm.
It's just like, I know we kind of get that sidekick itch with Alfred, but
Yeah,
someone
but it's
actually
not.
there on the scene is good.
That's. I always see Alfred's less sidekick, more. He's the man in the chair for Batman.
Yeah.
Like a lot of heroes have someone. Like.
But I mean, a lot of sidekicks from comics eventually do become their own heroes.
Well, yeah.
And because of films, they're like, well, I mean, they become their own hero anyway, so let's just skip the obvious sidekick part. So Bucky was Captain America's sidekick.
Yeah.
But in the MCU, they were just like, fuck it. We'll kind of give you like 20 minutes where he's kind of his sidekick. Then he dies.
Yeah.
And then you can have the Winter Soldier, and then he's the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
and then we kind of had Falcon, but he was Falcon, and then he became Captain America.
Yeah. Yeah, they do skip like a lot of the sidekicks.
I'd argue the only time we've actually had a sidekick in the MCU was in the Hawkeye show.
Yeah.
And even then, that was kind of like very brief, kind of no one sidekick takes over the mantle.
Yeah, that was short-lived side. Like it was a very condensed sidekick.
But I mean, I'd say that's what Kate Bishop was in that show for the most part.
I would agree. That's probably like the only time we've had sidekicks.
And to be fair, it was a well done version. It was someone who was the opposite of Clint in a lot of ways, like with how they look at things.
Yeah.
Clint was quite down in the dumps and just let's just get. And she was like, no, like we need to do this properly and we need to look after people and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I actually think that's a really good interpretation of a modern sidekick, and I would like to see more sidekicks.
Yeah, me too.
Now this next bit, I know exactly where I got this from because I sent the same TikTok to you, and this might be one of my favorite TikToks I've ever seen. Basically, someone broke down the fact that Darth Vader is such an iconic and such a well-written villain because all they've done is taken a stereotypical horror villain and plugged them into a different genre, i.e. science fiction. And they broke it down that he walks very slow and menacingly. He everything looks quite effortless. He doesn't have loads of screen time. And when he's there, he just obliterates. People don't really fight him, they just run away. And it made me kind of think, as like a second point to this, could this work in other ways?
Okay.
So taking a character style from a genre, so like a supervillain from a superhero genre, and plugging it in to a different genre to create this effect of them being next level. Or do you think Star Wars hit the lottery, and now if anyone else tries to do something similar, everyone's going to go, just a shit Darth Vader?
I think like you could definitely have the same effect of taking like that horror film-esque character and put him in like a superhero film as a supervillain. I think it definitely could be redone, or like take those sort of like, not necessarily like tropes, but those visual keys and the ways that you would film a character and display a character. Like you can use those horror film like cues in other genres and it not be like, oh, this is just Darth Vader but for MCU or something. I think you could also have some, like something a lot of people ask for, especially like keeping it like Star Wars sided, is people obviously you can't really do another horror film-esque character in my opinion. It'd be difficult to do it because people go, well, it's just Darth Vader but like less or whatever. But there's a character called Starkiller
Yeah.
in Star Wars who's like, in my opinion, is like super villain sort of character, like ridiculously OP and just fucking crazy. So you could take like good super villain like techniques
Tropes.
or like tropes and write like the way they're written and the way they're displayed on camera and do that in Star Wars with like a Starkiller character. I think that would work incredibly because you really need to sell like someone like Starkiller, you need to sell how powerful they are and kind of how crazy crazy powerful they are, less that they're scary, just that sheer
Just powerful.
yeah. It's less about fear, which you want from Darth Vader.
So, did watching that TikTok blow your mind as you were listening to it? Is your brain's kind of going, "Oh shit, he is completely right"? Because I've never even considered it before. But as he was saying it, I'm like, "Oh my god, he's absolutely spot on."
I definitely hadn't like directly considered it. I guess you kind of just. It's one of those things which they're using techniques that you don't specifically notice, but obviously work.
Yeah, and so you're used to the techniques because we've watched horror films.
Yeah, so it's like...
So it's not like it's alien technique, but just not used to it in this context.
It's just like someone's shone a light on like, look, this is where they've got the inspiration of how to shoot Darth Vader. It's just from horror films.
But it's so brilliantly done. And it gave me a whole new enjoyment of the character. Kind of, and a spell as well. It's kind of the consistency with which they've done it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way back in A New Hope through to now, Vader has been shot in the same way.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that it was very intentional that George Lucas went, we're going to do a horror character in space.
I know, I can probably guarantee for a fact that George Lucas was like, right, Darth Vader has to come across as this scary, like feared
he's a
Sith.
Monster, not a man.
Yeah, like he is no longer who he was before being a Sith. He is powerful and people need to fear that. And it's like, okay, how do we shoot this and show this on camera? Oh, well, this is how horror film villains are shown. Like, let's take tropes from this and how this is shot and like let's plug this into like how we shoot Darth Vader and how we visually show him, that like visual language of how to showcase Darth Vader. And like, yeah, 100%. I bet back then George Lucas was pulling inspiration from those horror films or whatnot. You could probably ask him, and he probably would say, yeah, like yeah, did.
It's just one of them things that once again goes to remind you, while George Lucas has made mistakes, a lot of the time he is fucking groundbreaking and genius.
Oh, he's nailed it, and it's like, and he's also surrounded himself with incredible teams to help build and take his ideas in this world that he's built and actually put it like. Star Wars would be nothing without like the prop department that they had back in the day, and like that way of being able to visually bring all of this to life and sell it. Like, never would have got to where it was. Like, yes, George Lucas has an incredible world that he's created and story and whatnot, but it also is like,
can't tell it by yourself.
No, exactly.
Yeah, smart people surround themselves with even smarter people, and that's definitely what he's done.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to our last little bit here. Superhero Showdown. Da-da-da. There you go, Hori. Before you go away tomorrow at like 9 a.m, you need to come up with a jingle for this.
I'm just gonna cut that.
So we're into our second round, our superhero semi-final.
Yep.
Martian Manhunter versus Cyborg. As always, bloodlusted, nothing they don't normally have, neutral environment.
Yes.
In my opinion, this is a cakewalk for one of these people. Not a cakewalk, they're both very powerful, but one person definitely wins this and pretty convincingly. I'm curious to see what
I feel
you
like I'm being
think
tested.
before I say who. Yeah, I'm not testing you at
I
all.
know. I know you're not, but it feels like a test.
But I'm curious to see if you agree with me or if you think it's quite a close fight or even if you think it's a cakewalk for the other person.
Well, my initial instinct when I read who was next was that Martian Manhunter wins. Because I know Martian Manhunter to be incredibly powerful. And while I underplayed Cyborg when we first did the fight between him and I forget who it was. Black Lightning? Yeah. And but like, even now I have a better understanding of Cyborg, I would probably, my instinct is still like Martian Manhunter is the stronger of the two.
So Cyborg is one of my favorite characters. He's fucking brilliant. I love him. He's done quite uniquely, I feel, and I think when done right, he's very entertaining. However, Martian Manhunter fucking slaps. He shits the life out of Superman. He shits the life out of Batman. His only real weakness is fire, and while Cyborg could probably conjure up a flamethrower, Martian Manhunter, when he's bloodlusted, will probably be able to get over his fear of fire enough to deal with that.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to surround him with fire to really have any chance, and I'm not sure if Cyborg would be able to do that before Martian Manhunter just rips his shit apart. The mother box that gives Cyborg his power does make him very durable, but I can't see a world where Cyborg can actually kill Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, that's like Cyborg's got some great tech and he's incredibly strong and durable, but like this is Martian Manhunter, man. Like he's not an easy feat at all. And yeah, I just don't see a way that he can outplay Martian Manhunter or kind of overpower him in any way. Like it's just going to come to a point where, like, Cyborg might run it the distance a couple of times, but yeah, I don't see any way of him actually overpowering like Martian Manhunter.
I completely agree. It's one of them things like last week's Scrollgar said. You can kind of tell how OP she is because like Galactus is friends with her. The fact that Batman, who stared down a Kryptonian without blinking, and said Kryptonian he stared down, are both nervous about the idea of Martian Manhunter being able to get them, is enough to tell you how dangerous this motherfucker is.
Yeah.
Right up there with Plastic Man. Like, Plastic Man's only real weakness is his lack of intelligence and being a bit of a dipshit. But Martian Manhunter doesn't even have that.
No.
So while I love Cyborg and I think he fucks most characters, Martian Manhunter is just that like cut above.
Yeah.
That kind of character that I'm like, maybe you've got like the Flash solos in pretty quick, but other than that, he's doing a pretty good job. But I'm also a massive believer in the idea that Flash with access to Speed Force solos everyone. And no one will ever be able to convince me otherwise. So don't bother in the comments.
No, please do.
I know there's gonna be a Superman fanboy out there who's like, no, Superman no.
Please.
The
in the comments.
The only reason Superman beats so many people he does is because he can speed blitz them. The Flash speed blitz is better than Superman. Superman gets fucked. It's simple.
But yeah, in the comments tell
Thank you
Connor
for
how
coming to my
wrong he
TED
is.
Talk. Yeah. So Martian Manhunter gets to progress to our
He
all-hero final, and is, I think, a pretty solid bet for doing very, very well in this bracket. So I'm clear. If we were taking bets on this, I think a bet on Martian Manhunter probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Looking at who we've got left,
Probably the lowest odds.
yeah, definitely some people who could put him in some tricky spots, but I definitely think he can go a good distance here. I think that's about it from all of us. I don't have a timer in front of me, but
It's
I
been a
feel
long
like
one.
we're close to like 2 hours here.
We are. It's been a long one. We're making up
and
for the
now-
fact there's no episode next week.
Yeah, exactly. I hope we haven't droned on about any individual topic for too long. I think we've kind of hit a nice amount for everything. If you've made it to all of the end of this in one sitting, you definitely should remember to hit that like button
And subscribe.
and make sure you're subscribed. If you've listened to this entire episode and you've not liked or subscribed yet, you're
Or
a
commented.
madman. And I respect the level of madman, but do yourself a favor, like it, subscribe, and yeah, comment letting us know you got here so that we can say congratulations.
If you're a
because
more
you are,
normal person, and this is currently your second sitting, listening to this, well done for reaching the end.
and because you managed to get to the end, remember to
Like-
go like and subscribe and comment.
Yeah, to let us know you did it in 2 sittings.
Yeah, let us know how long it took you down below to watch it. Were we really boring you and it took you like 7 attempts to get the whole way through? In which case, you should probably just wait for the segments in future so that
True.
you can watch it in bite-sized portions.
True.
But again, thank you for hanging out. This was a blast. We had lots of really interesting stuff to talk about this week.
Mm-hmm.
And the next episode could well be this long again because we're going to have to miss a week.
Yeah, there'll be a lot catching up.
So there's going to be 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, 2 episodes of The Boys, probably the rest of Umbrella Academy,
Stranger
as
Things.
well as 2 weeks worth of news. I will watch Stranger Things when you have watched The Boys.
Fair.
And then 2 weeks worth of news as well. And we'll probably miss some bits. But thank you for hanging out as always. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Do it, you know you want to.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next week.
Catch you in the next episode.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
All the time.